Hey, I'm Nancy Cavey, National ERISA and Individual Disability Attorney. Welcome to Winning Isn't Easy. Before we get started, I have to give you a legal disclaimer. This podcast is not legal advice. The Florida Bar Association says I have to say this, so now I've said it. But nothing will ever prevent me from giving you an easy-to-understand overview of the disability insurance world, the games that carriers play, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you deserve. So off we go. If you're on disability benefits or you're applying for your disability insurance benefit, I think there's a lot of stuff you need to know. While I do, topic-specific episodes, I thought, reading the recent cases, that there were a lot of things to cover that I'm going to call hot topics. So this episode is hot topics, and I'm going to talk about three things today. First, does my disability insurance carrier have to approve my long-term disability claim if they've approved my short-term disability claim? 2, do you make too much money to file a claim for residual long-term disability benefits if you've got residual coverage? And number 3, don't mess with a disability carrier and fail to tell them about work activity, the tale of how one attorney destroyed his case. Let's take a break for a moment before we get into the hot topics.
Have you been robbed of your peace of mind from your disability insurance carrier? You owe it to yourself to get a copy of Robbed of Your Peace of Mind, which provides you with everything you need to know about the long-term disability claim process. Request your free copy of the book at caveylaw.com today.
Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. Does my disability insurance carrier have to approve my long-term disability claim if they've approved my short-term disability claim? Drum roll, please. The answer is no. A policyholder or disability plan participant has the responsibility to provide the disability carrier with proof that supports your claim. Now, why is this important? It's important because there are different definitions of disability. Short-term disability policies or plans generally will have a different definition from the definitions that you find in a long-term disability policy or plan. One of the major differences is that there's commonly a different definition of disability that in a short-term disability policy or plan than you'll see in a long-term disability plan. So let me give you an example. It might be that to qualify for long-term disability benefits, you have to prove that you're limited from performing the material and substantial duties of your regular occupation due to your sickness or injury. But there might be a completely different definition of disability in the short-term disability policy or plan. There are also different definitions of occupations that you may see in a short-term disability plan and the long-term disability plan or policy. So for short-term disability purposes, the definition of occupation might be just how you performed your occupation for your specific employer. So if you're a nurse at Bayfront, the short-term disability policy or plan is going to define your occupation as how you do your nursing duties at Bayfront. But on the other hand, the definition of occupation in the long-term disability policy or plan might be something like this. We look at your occupation as it's normally performed in the national economy instead of how the tasks are performed for a specific employer or at a specific location. So the standard that the disability plan or carrier is going to use when you get to long-term disability is not how you do your nursing job at Bayfront and all their maybe little special proclivities or requirements. It's a national standard of how nursing is performed. Now, by the way, many times the long-term disability policy will refer to something called the Dictionary of Occupational Titles, which is an outdated U.S. Department of Labor book that sort of defines back in the 70s what the duties were of various occupations. And we all know that many fields have changed significantly and some don't even exist. So that's a big problem, that change in the definition. Now, the other reason that you need to consider is that there are new and different medical records. A disability carrier isn't required to come to the same conclusion as medical records will change over time. So you might develop new medical issues, you might see new doctors, your condition might improve, you might have surgery that allows you to return to work. So the short-term disability carrier is going to be looking at one set of records, and the long-term disability carrier is going to be looking at another set of records, generally for a different time frame. So while they'll look at the records in the short-term disability period, they're really concentrating on what's the disabling condition and how is it as of the date you became eligible for long-term disability benefits. Now, you need to understand that short and long-term disability are not the same animal. What do I mean by that? Short-term disability normally will be paid for 13 weeks, 26 weeks, maybe 6 months, maybe even as long as a year. But after that period of time, you're going to transition into long-term disability benefits if you've purchased those benefits. And what's crucial, as I said, is there's different definitions of disability, different definitions of occupation, different medical records that they're going to review. And disability carriers are looking for denial reasons in their toolbox. One of those denial reasons is going to be a pre-existing condition clause or other limiting clauses that will impact even your eligibility for long-term disability benefits or the length of time those long-term disability benefits are paid. So it's really crucial before you stop work and apply for benefits that you get a copy of the short-term disability plan or policy and the long-term disability policy or plan and what's called the summary plan description. We want to be reading these documents side by side, the short-term disability policy or plan and the summary plan description, so we understand what we have to prove in that short-term disability claim. And we want to similarly do the same thing with a long-term disability policy or plan and the SBD. So we want to understand what it is we have to prove because they may be cats, but one may be a pussycat and one might be a tiger. They're completely different animals. Let's take a break.